What we do different compared to our competitors is that we actually invest in the PV installation and that we are the operator.
All the operations in our buildings, they need electricity. And if we can ensure that this electricity is green electricity, by putting PV installations on the roof, we're helping our customers reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. It's that on the one end, and also knowing that the consumption will probably increase because of heating systems that are no longer going to be gas, but also electrical.
We constructed one of our largest properties in Marl, so it's two buildings quite close to each other, because we kind of decided, Goodman internally, that we go for the maximum capacity that the roof is offering.
It's green energy that we're putting onto the grid that replaces maybe coal or gas-powered electricity on the grid.
Sabrina, Tim, thank you so much for joining us today. Today we want to talk a little bit about PV. So Tim, can you give me an outline? What does a typical PV installation look like?
Well, the biggest part is what you see on all the pictures, the solar panels on the roof. There are a bunch of black squares. Those are all connected to a lot of cables that go all the way to your inverters, which is equipment that's on the side of the roof. And that thing goes with a much bigger cable to your transformer and then to your grid. And then under your solar panels, you have an aluminum frame and concrete blocks that are made to keep the installation down, which is surprising because it's a very simple solution to keep an installation on the roof.
That's great. But now I would like to understand, why are we investing in PV at all? I mean, it's a good thing, I understand that, but why is Goodman investing in this technology or this retrofitting activities?
There's a number of reasons. The most important one is that all the operations in our buildings, they need electricity. And if we can ensure that this electricity is green electricity, by putting PV installations on the roof, we're helping our customers reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. It's that on the one end, and also knowing that the consumption will probably increase because of heating systems that are no longer going to be gas, but also electrical. Transport, so trucks will also need green electricity. So we're making sure our buildings can offer long-term green energy for customers inside the building, but also what's not used in the building goes onto the grid and actually has a benefit for the surrounding community as well, because it's green energy that we're putting onto the grid that replaces maybe coal or gas-powered electricity on the grid.
Now, when we look at Marl, we have been today to Marl. It's a huge installation. Could you tell me, Sabrina, maybe a bit about the project itself, the size?
Yeah, as you might remember, in 2017, roughly, we constructed one of our largest properties in Marl. So it's two buildings quite close to each other. Yeah, while it was the biggest project for us back at that time, it's today also the biggest project for us with regards to PV installation. Because we kind of decided, Goodman internally, that we go for the maximum capacity that the roof is offering. So we really kind of walk the talk, look to have it future-proof. Means that in Marl, with a large roof, we have 12 megawatt peak on one of the two buildings and an additional 6 megawatt peak on the other one. So in total, at Marl Logistics Center, we install 18 megawatt peak, which kind of qualifies for the size of 14 soccer fields.
I was wondering, I was there today, so how many solar panels approximately do you? I was like counting and then I stopped because really too many.
It's roughly 43,000
Over
panels.
the two together, 43,000. Yeah. Each one connected to a cable, screwed down with 4 screws. It's a lot of work, and it's impressive to see. I mean, one by one, all the panels get put on. And if you stand in the middle, it's like an ocean of solar panels around you. You just see it all around you.
Especially having in mind the history of the site. So it's a brownfield that we acquired. And you saw it today, when you step on the roof, all you see is PV panels.
For miles and miles, it seems. Yeah.
For miles and miles. And in the back, you see the chemical park of Marl.
Yeah, that is really impressive.
So really to see what we transferred the site into in a modern logistics center with a PV installation, supporting the energy transition, while you still have a chemical park in the back, which is quite impressive, actually.
I mean, now it's all done, but it was a long journey to get there. So could you take us a little bit with you, how this all played out? How long did it take, etc.?
It's not done yet. I would love to say it's done. So the obvious part, what Tim says.
It's easy, you know? You
Yeah,
put
it's
some
easy.
panels on the roof.
Yeah,
Connect, and then we are good.
we just decide to go for PV installation. So when I kind of started with my PV career at Goodman almost 2 years ago, it was already discussed that we want to have a PV installation on the roof in Marl, because we did some pre-checks. So one of the main limiting factors, unfortunately, is the statics of the property. We briefly touched on it. You have to put a lot of components on the roof, so your roof needs to be qualified to actually allow for that extra load-bearing capacity. One important step is also to receive confirmation from the grid operator. So you have to ask for your feeding confirmation.
So coming back to our journey in Marl, so we understood now we have investigated whether the roof can take all these solar panels, whether the capacity is there to put them on. Now, what are the next steps? What are the other things that we need to consider to get it finally connected to the grid?
You have the DC part of a PV installation, which is basically
Everything you see on the roof.
what you see on the roof, exactly. Yeah? And then you have the AC part, which is really the connection, the cables that go via your transformers to the grid. And that's where the fun part starts, actually. Yeah? So the DC part is rather the easy part, but the AC part, as mentioned, you need to get the confirmation of the grid operator. We have to apply for subsidies. So it's not just for smaller installations below a megawatt peak. You are eligible to a standard feed-in tariff, but for the larger installations above a megawatt peak, you actually have to apply. There's 2 to 3 dates a year where you have the chance to apply.
2 to 3 dates, I don't know, in March, in July, and in September. And if you miss all of them, then you are out of the race.
Then you can attend the next year.
Great.
And the fun part is that the regulations that set these milestones, that set this kind of frame, they change constantly. Yeah? So the government, at least in Germany, last year we had a famous Easter package where they fully reviewed the whole legislation around PV. Today they are already discussing again a new solar package, and this all has an impact on our installation. Because unfortunately it's not that you just decide we go for PV installation on the roof and half a year later you're done. Today it kind of takes 1.5 years from the moment you decide to do it to the moment you're really connected to the grid and you start to produce.
And in between, all the time, the regulations change and all that.
Yes.
Not only regulations, but also the market, the prices. In the meantime, we had an energy crisis.
Sounds like a fun game.
It's a roller coaster.
It's a roller coaster, yeah.
You have to be kind of flexible, you have to adapt, you have to make the best out of it at the end of the day. Because for us, we want to have PV installations on basically all of our roofs. We want to have the most sustainable buildings and support the whole energy transition. But yeah, sometimes it really feels like you really have
to work to do a good thing.
Yeah. It's really a whole lot of discussions with the grid operators.
Is there only sorry to interrupt, is there just one operator?
Maybe
I'm naive, but I don't know. Is there just one in Marl, for example? Do we have just one?
I always get, when we have the European calls with my colleagues in the other countries taking care of the installations there, they kind of look at me as I'm crazy, because they have, 2 to 5?
Everyone has 1, 2, or 3 grid operators in their country.
And then it's me saying, there's above 800. There is some standardization, but most of the grid operators, they
interpret it their own way. No?
Yes, exactly.
Here are the rules, but 800 people can interpret it to a certain extent. So you can imagine.
I'm starting to have fun here. Already just sitting here.
Yeah, for example, with Marl, we are always talking about the big installation, but honestly, it's 2 different buildings. So it's kind of 2 separate installations. And Fun Park, they are only a 5-minute walk apart from each other, but it's 2 separate grid operators. Although we are managing one big project, we are actually dealing with 2 different grid operators, and both of them have totally different approaches.
And before we forget that, because I don't think we have mentioned it yet, it's the biggest on-roof installation for Goodman as of today.
Yeah.
And
Goodman,
in Germany, we believe we are sure that it's also the biggest one. I just wanted to touch on one other thing. So when you look back at the projects we have done so far, so what is a successful PV installation project? What makes it great?
Great definitely is the moment where you get confirmation from everyone that production started. And as already mentioned, it's It's a journey like a roller coaster. There's a lot of really positive things. This is when you for Mal, actually, I really remember the last week of July last year, as we had to hit this 1st of August for the subsidies, and everyone was kind of pulling together, working over the weekend to really meet that deadline. So it was our general contractor who initially constructed the site, because they had to approve our aesthetics. It was even our contractors who take care of the snow removal concepts, because we had to provide a snow removal concept to our customer. It was the insurance of our customer. It was our customer. It was our external consultants. So it was everyone really working together to have all the relevant information and planning and setups available to really go for that installation. And by handing in this application, it was kind of clear that we will really go for that installation. So it was the moment where it was like, now it's real. We have been talking about it for, I don't know, months, years, but now it's real. So that was one moment for me where it was really like...
That was a crazy week. 'Cause I mean, I had been working on the project for a while, and Sabrina, I think it was maybe 3-4 months before that you had said, I'm going to spend some time on PV. I don't know.
Just a little bit.
I don't know much. She told me still, I bought a book. I'm studying. I think I'll figure, what's a solar panel? How does it look? And at this point that week, I think we went from, okay, it's going to happen to, it's probably not going to happen to, okay, maybe it's going to happen. And I think the Friday I had a call at the end of the day with Sabrina, and she really said, yeah, so that one's doing this weekend, this one's doing that this weekend. And I thought, wow, okay, she may not know everything about PV, but she knows about chasing people to get things done. And so we went into that weekend, and I thought, I mean, maybe, hopefully we can make it. And then I think on Monday morning, you had the courier ready to leave with the documents, because they have to be sent by paper versions
on paper, really,
to the authorities. That was a incredibly exciting but nerve-wracking week.
So I hear teamwork, for sure.
Yes.
I hear flexibility.
Definitely.
And a bit of patience and stamina to go through all of that. So what's next? Obviously, when one is finished, there's the need for more. So maybe we start with Europe, and then we come to Germany. The other European countries are obviously also very active in this area. So what's happening there? What are the next steps?
Our ambition is to have 91 megawatts by 2025. By the end of this year, we should be around 63. Most of the buildings we're looking at now are existing buildings, which means it's not necessarily as straightforward to say, that building can hold it. So there's two parts. There's the stability part, the statics, and the grid that need to be checked. But we're doing that on different projects in the different countries. This year as well in Spain, there were 5 projects at the same time, which is also, I mean, because a lot of the time you count megawatts, but it's also each project has a lot of work regardless of the size. So it's impressive that you're able to do 5 at the same time, and it takes a lot of motivated colleagues to be involved. I mean, in Germany, it's also not just Sabrina, it's also, Karsten, there's a legal team, there's, the people from the tax team, there's, everyone is doing their part, contributing to make things happen, and that happens in every country. So it's nice to see that we're starting to get used to it a little bit. I think in the first years we were, okay, let's see how this works. We're starting to speed up and know more and more. And I think Sabrina by now can teach some DNOs or some counterparts about topics in PV, and the same for colleagues in other countries. We notice that what we're doing is not necessarily business as usual. It's not standard. The industry doesn't expect it. It's happening as we go along. So we're really on the forefront of sort of this industrial scale of PV on the roofs.
I mean, we were today in Mal, and we met with our partners and customers. BayWa was there. We met with the people from Metro Logistics. What was your takeaway? So what is really the benefit for a customer to have a PV installation on the roof?
There's obviously, and the benefit that we always speak of is the lower greenhouse gas emissions, the green energy, but something that they mentioned that maybe we don't look at it that way often enough is that they also, by signing a PPA, by using that energy, they're able to predict a lot better, what will our green energy consumption be? How much will we pay? We sign long agreements for leases with them. So it's I guess, comfortable for them to know part of that agreement is energy. I was surprised that they really mentioned that one. I think also it's a matter of pride for people working there. If
Maybe it's also for their image and their marketing activities.
Exactly, the people working there, the people, you saw the team leader or the site leader was also very proud to be walking around there. So it's nice to see that having something like that also puts sustainability on the agenda.
He mentioned also that Goodman is a strong partner and a reliable partner, not just for the property itself. Of course, that's our kind of main business, the property itself. But also it has been constructed a couple of years ago. But even today, we work together with the customer to make the property future-proof. What we do different compared to our competitors is that we actually invest in the PV installation and that we are the operator. So we are actually then in a position where we can sell or sign a PPA with our customers, sell the energy, tailor it towards their needs to a certain extent, because given that we maximize the power on the roof, it not only serves today's needs but also future needs. And this is probably not unique, but as you said, it's not the standard of what is done by our competitors.
The easy solution would just be to say, here's a roof, and speak to a company and tell them, do what you want, give us some rent and we're fine. And that kind of a solution would mean that we benefit financially from it, but the rest of the benefits kind of go to that company and they will do with it what they want. The way we do it, we really keep the door open for us, our customers, and maybe in the future a third party. Or for example, in Marl, there's the chemical park right next door. We could imagine saying, there's a lot of energy left. Do you want to use this energy that's being produced on your doorstep? And they've actually, I think...
They've asked for it.
So you notice that it opens doors, that we're doing it the way we're doing it. It's complicated. It takes a lot of work from our side, a lot of hours of looking up things, figuring things out, speaking to people, but it pays off as well.
So to wrap up, because I always like to end this way, on a high note, so what are you most proud about when you look at these projects and what you have done with these projects?
I didn't expect to have that journey within these 2 years, to gain that much of experience, and also to go through this with the colleagues, that we as a company, we as a team gained the knowledge that we are indeed today in a position where we can discuss on eye level with our suppliers, with grid operators, and that we can really push this forward. And being on a roof like Marl today, seeing all these panels, it's impressive. And of course, you're proud on that because you really see something. It's a bit like with the properties we construct. Once it's there, you see what the result. You can touch it,
you can feel
it.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe a bit similar in that, I work for the sustainability and innovation team in Brussels, and we try to launch ideas that we think make sense. And when I came in at Goodman, it was sort of, okay, we're working on PV. I know at the beginning I thought, okay, it feels like no one's interested in this because, we're a logistics real estate company. No one, cares is not the right word, but everyone was too busy building buildings to really think about solar panels. And to see how today, you have Sabrina here in Germany, but Antonio in Spain, or Maurice in Netherlands, Alex in France, everyone actually pulling it themselves as well to see how it's kind of launched, and everyone makes time for this because they see the added value and to help in that journey, because in the end, I'm not the one doing the projects, it's Sabrina doing it here, but to be able to play my role there and see how it's grown into part of the business is really nice to see, especially coming from an energy background where projects I worked on were energy projects, so everyone was focused on them. Here it's really becoming part of the company and what we do.
Thank you guys, that was really cool.
Thank you
so much.